Welcome, everybody, to the next level. I am Brian Daniels. This is my lovely wife, Raven.
Hello.
And we are joined by comedian Henry Phillips. Henry, welcome to the next level, man. It's good to have you here.
Hey, good to be here, you guys. Brian and Raven. Nice to
Yeah.
meet some new friends.
Yeah. It's good to have you here with us. And obviously he's in the kitchen because where else do you expect him to be? I mean, he's in the kitchen. That's where we hoped he would be at for this episode. And not only is Henry a culinary artist, he is also a comedian. He is a man of many talents. You might know him from the movie Punching the Clown, Punching Henry. He also has been on Comedy Central. He even did an interview with Larry King. I know you've heard of that guy. And he also did the Bob and Tom Show and many other things we're going to get into the span of his career. But Henry, how's it going over there? You're over in California, right? How you doing over
I
there?
am. Yeah, we had a pretty bad heat wave for about a week, but that happens every year, and it's nice now. It's back to like about high 70s, and so I might actually go outside. I spend all my time in the kitchen. I sleep in the kitchen. I play guitar in the kitchen. I think it's a good, comfortable zone for me. It's got a little bit of danger to it, but it's also it's. I like to live on the edge. There's sharp objects. There's fire. There's the risk of
Yeah.
public humiliation if you have a camera on you. And but the kitchen is the kitchen is where I've ended up after all these years.
Well, let's get into your storied career. So you're obviously a comedian. I want to know what drew you into comedy in the first place.
When I was in high school, I was always a little bit spacey, and actually a lot of the teachers thought that I was high. And of course I was high, but that didn't have anything to do with it. No, actually I wasn't. I just was sort of a spacey guy. And I don't know if it was because I had sinus problems or if I wasn't sleeping enough, thyroid issue. I don't know what it is, but for whatever reason, a lot of times I was pretty bad at school. I'd fall asleep in class. But when I'd say something, people would laugh. And so I did eventually get my act together, and I went to college and got a degree and all that kind of stuff. But I never really stopped trying to make my friends laugh. And it was usually by being the idiot in some situation. It's like, all right, well, if I try to do something like write a song or do something, cook a meal or whatever, and people are laughing, it's fine with me. It's kind of a fun thing for everybody to be having a good time. So I just realized that was sort of my calling, I guess. And so when I was in my early 20s, I put together my musical act, which was all basically, it was based on going around to coffee houses in the early 90s. And there was a lot of folk singers that would go up at open mic nights. And so, yeah. And I started doing it, and I was trying to do it so that I'm sort of like bad at it, and like I'm trying to write songs, but they just kind of miss. They're a little too much information, or, there's just problems,
Right.
problematic. And so it was really a lot of fun. Comedians started bringing me on the road as their opening act, and I started getting airplay on the radio. And I just loved the fact that people would tune in and hear these songs that sounded like they were just going to be regular songs, and then they would take sort of a twist to them. And so that was a lot of fun for me. And I mean, I can't emphasize, you told me where you guys are. I don't know if you're public about that, but
That's fine. Yeah, absolutely.
I don't want to say your address or anything, but yeah, you're out there sort of in the Midwest, and that became my stomping grounds for about 20 years, from about 1999 to about 2019. I loved it. I think I mentioned to you that I was at the Caesars over there near the Kentucky, Indiana border, and lost a lot of money. I had like the 3-day beard growth, and I was playing craps going, come on, man, I gotta get a flight home, but yeah, I just had so many adventures out there all through the Midwest, because I started getting airplay on the Bob and Tom Show out of Indianapolis. And they they basically gave me a career. There were a couple of things. There was that, and also comedian Doug Stanhope brought me as the opening act for his show on the road. So there were a couple of things that gave me a career out there, and then club owners would have me back to be the headliner or whatever. And but yeah, the Bob and Tom show, their whole market was anywhere from basically Salt Lake City all the way to Youngstown, Ohio, and north and south as well. So that became my life as a traveling person who I loved meeting people, and made some really, really good friends out there. And that's the only part I miss about it. It's been a couple of years that I haven't been doing it. I still do every now and then little things. I'm going to Austin, Texas in October.
Oh, nice.
And then Key West in November for a comedy club down there. But yeah, I still do little things, but for the most part, that part of my life is over. And about 11 years ago, I was down and out. I was going through a terrible breakup. I was just having a really tough time with the entertainment industry. I went to the Montreal Comedy Festival, thought that it went okay, except for I didn't get any phone calls. I mean, that's sort of supposed to be a big break. So I had a lot of nothing going on. And during that time, I was watching a lot of YouTube videos. To every time I wanted to learn how to cook something, I was like, all right, I'm going to learn how to cook chili. And I'd go to, I just put in chili in YouTube. Now, nowadays, and this is unfortunate. I mean, this makes me a little nostalgic and sad, but when you put in how to make chili, you're going to get all recipes or Martha Stewart. You're going to get all these big famous ones with high production value coming up first. Back then, it was all amateurs. And as a person who likes funny stuff, I was seeing some of the funniest things ever. I mean, literally just there'd be like this real flowery intro that would last for like a minute, and then it would just smash cut to a guy just staring at the camera and then just like looking extremely uncomfortable. And I was like, this is just gold, and so I was like, I'm gonna make one of these for my friends. And so I did. I remember sending it to my buddy Chris Fairbanks. It was me making French toast. And I said, do me a favor, don't send this to anybody because I want to cut it down because it's way too long. But let me know if you think it's funny. And I think there's a lesson in this to know if you're onto something, because he didn't hold it back. He sent it to every friend of his that he had. And
of course,
there were like 2,000 views on it, and I was like, dude, I told you not to send it to anybody. But that's what you call a champagne problem. It's one of those. It's like the reverse of that would be that he didn't feel like sending it to anybody anyway. But if somebody wants to send it, even if you tell them not to, then you think you're onto something. And
of course.
And then so I made another one a week later, Henry's Chili for One, and it literally went viral. There's several 100,000 views, and now it's past 1 million. And I was like, wow, this. And then as I started getting older and realizing that going out on the road and spending a week at the Caesar's Palace, in the Kentucky, Indiana border. Not that it's not a beautiful place, but I was just like, it's really the traveling really got to me, mostly the travel days, sitting around at the airport and not knowing whether the plane was even going to take off or if I was going to get a hotel there. I mean, there's so many things. And I was like, well, this is something I can do. I can do this out of my home and have fun being entertaining in the way that I like doing it. And so I started doing it. It's completely a matter of technology, And so then so I got it all together with Patreon. I started selling merchandise, and I had the soundtrack album. And then at my comedy shows, I started having people show up. I really got it was really exciting for me because here like you mentioned, I did a Comedy Central special for it was a half hour on Comedy Central. I've done late night sets on late night TV.
Yeah, Jimmy Kimmel.
I mean, not to put any of that stuff down, but when I did that kitchen video, I literally remember a couple of moments. One, I was at the airport in Houston, Texas, and there was some businessman, one of these guys you see at the airport who's all dressed in a suit, and he's obviously doing something important. Not a person that ever I would necessarily cross paths with, but the guy just goes, "I think I just saw you cooking on the internet," and I was just like, "Yeah," and that was cool. I had the same thing happen in New York, and then San Francisco, and in Montreal. I had a bunch of kids that were coming to the show, and they asked, who's the comedian tonight? And the guy at the comedy club was like, he's Henry Phillips. He's been on Comedy Central or whatever. And they're like, we never heard of him. And then they turned around and they saw me and they go, "You're the cooking guy." And then they all went and bought tickets to watch the show. And I was like, wow, awesome. I'm really onto something here.
That's awesome.
It was never something that I was expecting to take off, but I embraced it because, you really have to go with whatever happens, Absolutely. If you start getting something that's going a certain direction and you like it, that's something I wish I would have learned earlier. I think there were a lot of times when it's like opportunity was knocking, but I was like, it's not exactly what I want to be doing. But no, if something's hot, then you should follow it. And so about a year ago, I started getting all these people on YouTube saying, "I saw you on Nim's channel or Force's channel or Moon," and all these people. And I was like, I don't know what any of this is. And then I started seeing all these emojis on my Twitter feed and everything like that. I was like, this is really something. So Nim, I think I reached out to him and said, "Hey, thanks for showing my stuff on your streams." And he said, "Well, you should come on and show do like a cooking segment." And I go, "Sure," but he said you should definitely start a channel first. And so I did. And so after I appeared on there once, I had 3,000 people following the channel, and the channel just sat there for 6 months while I sat and tried to figure out what the hell do I do? Because so much of what I do is editing and all this other stuff. And
you're not used to live. It's a whole other beast. Yeah, it's a whole other beast.
Different.
It is. Totally different.
And so and I had to learn the technology and stuff like that, because there's definitely a learning curve with that. And but I did. And so back in May, I started doing Henry's Kitchen on Twitch live. It's twice a week, and then Thursday nights I do a special just games and music stream. And right before we all got on this call, I got a notification from Twitch saying you're eligible to be a partner, so submit an application. So I just did that right now.
That's awesome. Congratulations, man.
I mean, I really like Twitch for a lot of reasons. Probably the main thing is that it's very clear what the levels are. And like with YouTube, I feel like, oh wow, I'm getting all these views and everything, and then all of a sudden the views just went down.
Man,
low. Like I went from I have 70,000 subscribers, which is not as huge as a lot of people, but it's still a decent amount. But I'd get maybe 3,000 or 4,000 views every time I'd put one on, and I'm like, where's all these subscribers? And then you find out that YouTube actually kind of steers people one way or the other based on what's going to be more engaging.
It's very algorithm based on YouTube, and I found that out myself too.
Anywhere anymore.
And that's not really fair, because those people subscribed for a reason. They're like, when this guy puts a video out, I want to see it. And they stopped doing that, because it used to be if you have 50,000 subscribers, you have 50,000 views. That's just what it was. Then they changed it. And but Twitch, every time I do it, it's consistent. And every time someone I'm following gets on there, I get a notification, and then they say, okay, when you hit this many people, then you get to the affiliate. And then if you hit this many, you get it. And my brain works better that way. I'm sort of like, just tell me what the rules are, and I'll try to work within that system. But if you're just sort of looking at this big open thing and you have no idea what you're supposed to do, it's much more difficult.
That's the nature of the beast. Cause I know YouTube is trying to do live, but it's like that's not in our brain, and I know for
That's
you,
not how
that's
you
not
do
what you think of YouTube. Unfortunately,
Yeah.
like, I don't
They didn't
consider
really
YouTube,
brand themselves.
I don't consider YouTube a live platform. And what's crazy is there's a lot of Twitch streamers that were very popular that went from Twitch to YouTube, but of course they got a multi-year contract, lots of money,
Well, they were probably
so
poached. Yeah.
they were already big. But that's why we have our own we have a Twitch channel also, that twitch.tv/the domain GPC, gonna self-promote that. But anyway,
I'll check it out.
but we do on there as well. And see, for me, I'm a gamer. I'm a gamer at heart. It's like if I know the goal and I see the stats, I'm like, okay, I know what I have to go for.
Exactly.
And as opposed to YouTube, like you said, it's such a broad thing. I mean, they tell you that you have to have so many watch hours and stuff, but it's really not even that. It's because it's still, you're not guaranteed anything.
Yeah.
And
the monetization makes no sense to me at all.
absolutely not.
I mean, I see all these videos of people going, I'm going to teach you how to make $3,000 a day on YouTube. And then I look at their videos and I'm like, well, I've got more views than you do. How are you making that? I think, and they're probably crap anyway, but yeah, you're absolutely right. Some people, like, I wish everything was like that. I wish it was like, you're trying to meet a love partner, and it's like, okay, well, you have to have this, and this, and you have to have that, and then no. But no, I wish that the entertainment industry, or getting a record deal, would be something like okay, once you've achieved this, then you've unlocked that, and then
once you have this many sales,
and now you have that.
This many record sales, then you get this, and then.
But it's never that. Yeah, it's always. Yeah.
But Twitch is very clear on that, because when you go into the dashboard, the dashboard, it does give you those. Okay, so because I know, like, we're an affiliate, and so we're trying to get partnered, and it's like, okay, I need to have this many average views. It's very cut and dry. There is no guesstimation. There is no, well, I don't know where I'm at. And the path is very clear.
There's no gatekeeper saying, you know what? No, I don't want to give them. It's like, no, you do the work. A meritocracy, and I like that. So I have a question for you, because now I'm suddenly I loved playing video games in the 80s when I was growing up, and then I completely skipped it for like 20 years. But I because of the demand, I have a Discord channel, and people have been saying, we want to watch you play Cooking Simulator or Played Up or Overcooked or all these games, or this game Stray, which is about an orange cat, which is very similar to my cat. So I've been doing it, and I'm having a blast. I wouldn't call myself a gamer, but what I find really cool is that most of the people in the community that are watching the videos are they're fluent in game culture. Like, I don't think there's any, from what I can tell, there's hardly any people watching Twitch that don't play games, or don't at least know the game terms and stuff. Which I think is cool. But because the fact that I don't necessarily do that, but because YouTube's not that way at all. YouTube is just, you go on there and see anything, but it seems like there's a common bond.
It's funny, because so Twitch, I don't know what you know about the history of Twitch and the background of Twitch, but Twitch it was very video game exclusive when it first started. And it has evolved into now just whatever. And that's the beauty of it all is, I mean, of course there are some things you just can't do on Twitch or YouTube for that matter, but like, I mean, there's people that, like, I follow that play the piano, and they play video game music on piano. There are artists that I follow, like painters and things like that that draw and stuff, which are really cool. So I mean, really cool. I think honestly, as far as cooking goes, you're the only one that I follow on Twitch that actually does any sort of cooking. Not that nobody does. There are people that do, but that's not like their core. You know what I mean? That's not like what they are mainly doing. But the best part about Twitch is the variety in it all. And there are people that, you've got your streamers out there that, like, I'm just going to play Fortnite, and that's my game, and that's what I'm good at. And I think what I love
which
about
I am really bad at, by the way. I get killed within 30 seconds. I was starting to get depressed. I was
that
like,
happens. That happens.
if I want to get killed every 30 seconds, I'll just do real life. I can't do
Yeah.
yeah.
But what's great about Twitch is it gives creators the ability to branch outside of their core. Because I know for me, I used to do a lot of Call of Duty when I first started streaming, and now I just play whatever because I want to do what I want to do. And I think that's what's great about Twitch is it gives people the ability to do what they want to do, but then you also can have that more, it's more interactive with your audience. Because YouTube, I have to sit there and wait for people to comment before I can actually interact with them. Whereas on Twitch, you have that live integration. I'm sure for you, when you started on YouTube, you know, and as you were gaining ground and getting more popular with people, the comments, it made it a little bit harder for you to interact because you just had to wait for people to respond.
I very rarely react. I actually only reacted to the negative comments, which is really sad. Like it's just, it's like people that on Yelp, you know, the only reviews they're ever going to put is if they're pissed off about something, you know, but like, yeah, those were the only ones I responded to. But yeah, no, it wasn't really about the interaction. And so that's a question for you. So are streamers now feeling like they have to do all platforms just to maximize, or are they just sticking with one?
You know, so I don't know if you are aware of who Ninja is. He's a very popular streamer here on Twitch.
I think he's I think he came up in lists of like the biggest streamers.
Yeah. So Twitch made a change in their like their partner or their thing where you can stream on whatever you want, but the downside to that is not as a partner. So what he decided to do was he removed him, like his contract went out. He had a contract. And so what he actually did was, like, I think a week ago, he actually was one of the first people to stream on like YouTube, Twitch, Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok at the exact same time. And like he got views everywhere. Now, I don't think you can do that as a partner. You would have to look at your partner program thing, whatever they have you do. I'm not aware of what that is exactly, but then again, he has tons of money. Like he has probably indisposable wealth. So like he can get away with like being able to do that.
Like people can still watch him, but they can't pay money to like subscribe to him anymore.
Well, they can on YouTube.
I'm talking about Twitch.
But Twitch, they can't. Yeah. Like he did that.
Oh, so Twitch like disowned him or something like that?
His contract expired with them.
Oh,
yeah.
I see.
Yeah. But he can still stream on there, but
by streaming on multiple multiple
platforms. Yeah.
He's no longer able to get paid subscribers on Twitch.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
So these platforms have an exclusivity clause.
I think so. Yeah. But that's something that you would have to look into your partner program once you fill that out and stuff.
It'll be a long time before I'm worried about any of that stuff. I like you said, the Twitch chat is very vibrant, and it's the culture that they have cultivated, and so it's
I wanted to ask you about that too. When you were doing videos before, it was all pre-recorded, and now you're doing live stuff pretty much exclusively now. What's it like for you to now have that interaction you did not have before? How has that transformed your content now versus everything being pre-recorded before? Now you're on the spot. Now you have to like,
I know,
now you're like, oh man, I can't, I got to be careful with
that's why,
what's that like?
That's why it took me 6 months from the time that I did NIMS broadcast to the time that I actually went live for the first time. The first time that I went live, I was so scared. I basically just showed a bunch of videos and just chatted with people and said, I'm going to start streaming. And that was sort of like dipping my toe in the water kind of thing. And then I finally did my first one. I had 2 cameras set up. Everything. Okay. The 2 biggest challenges are technological. And even last night, I'm getting a little more used to it, but, so I had a guest, Mochi's Nirvana is her name, and we played we played a trivia game, and we did it we were talking through Discord, and then we also were streaming the game through Steam. So I was doing a bunch of stuff, but I had my brain is not good at quickly doing technical type stuff. And I'm like, okay, so we got the desktop audio is picking up the Discord thing. I have to feed the game music through this other thing. And then it turns out I didn't put my my mic on because I'm thinking of so many things. But coming from a performance background in terms of like, 20 years of stand-up, the worst thing, and if you're a good stand-up, you should be comfortable with it. But the most scary thing is dead air, dead time of you just standing there trying to think of what was I going to say. And it's just terrifying. And that's happened to me. I've had this brain freeze happen like about 4 times during my Twitches, but the people seem to be laughing at it because they're like, this is classic, and it's like, okay, good. I'm glad that you're finding amusement, but yeah. So, I mean, a couple of things I've learned. One, I don't think it's extremely uncommon for people to be fiddling with technical stuff during their streams.
It's definitely not.
And that's cool. And that made me feel a little bit more relaxed.
Yeah.
And also it's sort of part of my brand anyway. So it's fine. But the live thing has been fun because I had to learn how to read the chat. That was another thing too, is that they're going by so fast and I have to, have
you got down the emoji culture yet? Because that's a thing. It's a huge thing on Twitch. Little bit. You know what I mean? Like learning what the emojis mean. And I know for some people they don't quite. Even I've been doing Twitch for like 10 years, man. Wow. And even I'm like, okay, what are these guys like coming up with now with these emojis and stuff? It's kind of it's like a whole other language.
I don't know what they all mean, but those are the things that I started seeing on Twitter, like Pog and Pepe the Frog and all these things, and I was like, and they were all pictures of me too. Like somebody had created emojis with my face, and I was like, oh wow. But I haven't really learned what they all mean. I do have some of my own, and if I get to be partner, I think it means that I get to put a lot more, and I really got to up my game in terms of that. But there is a guy named Quanto on Twitter who is amazing. He just came out of nowhere and said, hey, I built this design for you so that when you transition from one scene to another, it does your flowery Henry's Kitchen thing that you did. Awesome. And I was like, this is amazing. This is great. Yeah. And since then we've been friends, and he pretty much helps me with all technical stuff. That's good. And he actually built this thing for me in my OBS, which has it can tell if there's a question asked. It detects that there's a question mark or the phrasing of a question, and it puts it in a different box. So I can read just questions, and it doesn't have any of the ones that have emojis or anything. So that's awesome. I can literally go, okay, Toilet Destroyer wants to know how much salt to put in it, or whatever. And it's really great. So I have a couple of helpful things like that, but I also look at the chat also to make sure I'm not missing anything. And there's a lot of really funny comments. There's really funny comments. Like some of them, there's been a couple of times when I've just cracked up at something that somebody said, and I try not to.
Do you think people purposely try to throw you off character when you're? I'm sure they do. I've seen them. They're trying to break you. It's kind of funny.
Yeah, maybe a little bit. Look, I'm not forever going to be able to. I mean, all somebody has to do is check IMDb, and they can find out I've been kicking around the entertainment industry for a long time. So it's not like. I look at it like I'm one of those ventriloquists that you can see the guy's mouth moving the whole time, but you're having fun with it anyway, Like I'm not going to try to, but I am doing a character, but it's a large part of who I am, but it's
you, but it's you, but it's like not you at the same time.
I think on YouTube, it was easier for me to just say, hey, this just blends right in with all those amateur cook people, and I don't know if people get disappointed when they find out it's a joke. I mean, my favorite all-time work of art was the movie Spinal Tap, which trolled everybody. I mean, everybody thought it was a real band.
Classic. Yeah, that's such a classic.
And they were just doing satire, and they were doing it really well. But but going back, so I'm definitely going to stick with Twitch. I'll put out YouTube videos every now and then. I probably, I'm overdue for one. I put them out on my Patreon anyway,
Yeah.
but yeah, I'm just going to do the Twitch thing. I did my first sponsored one a couple weeks ago, and I'm hoping and then I bought my PC. My friend talked me through getting a gaming PC, and it's been working real well.
That's awesome.
And so this person that I had last night, Mochi's Nirvana, I went to her channel, and she hasn't streamed in a while, but there was a game called Dead by Daylight. Have you seen that one? Oh man,
have I seen that one? I play that a lot.
Oh, you play that on your
game.
channel? Oh, I'm gonna check that out.
That's a really good one.
I mean, I've said this a few times, but it's like if back in like 1984 when we were playing Adventure on Atari, if we had a glimpse at what games would eventually become, we would have shit our pants. There's no
God, yeah.
Or our heads would have exploded, or both.
Yeah,
but yeah, that
100 was my first gaming system. So yeah.
Which one?
The 2600.
Oh
yeah.
So
I think that's the one I had too, with
Pong and Pac-Man and all those, like Pitfall. Yeah, there is absolutely no way we could have seen anything like today coming.
Oh no.
I know. And yet we had a blast. I mean, yeah, Pitfall, boy, that brings back memories. Activision was the third party that made videos for the Atari, and but boy, it was so disappointing because it'd be like Asteroids and Pac-Man, and you're expecting it to be the one they have at the arcade, and it was
totally different.
Not at all the same, man.
Yeah.
My game was Galaga. It still is. Galaga.
Oh yeah, I love Galaga.
I'm actually a top player in Galaga too.
That's great.
yeah.
Wow. Wait, so Galaga 2, is that a computer game, or is it like an arcade?
Galaga is an arcade game that came out.
I remember that
in the mid '80s.
But see, now Galaga, I would have said was a sequel to Galaxian.
It is. Yep. Yep. It most certainly is. Yeah, that's my favorite game. I actually just picked up yesterday at a store near us a complete inbox Galaga for the 7200.
Oh yeah,
or 7800, the Atari 7800, the one that came out later. But yeah, that's my all-time favorite arcade game.
Oh yeah,
is Galaga.
It was so great. That whole twist of being able to get the double ship. And it was so satisfying to be just killing everything on those bonus rounds. Yeah, I loved Galaga. I'm trying to think of some of the ones that I mean, Ms. Pac-Man was pretty fun.
Yes. Yeah.
So Pac-Man, the regular Pac-Man, there was a pattern that you could learn, that you could master it. And it came with, it was hard to get because we didn't have the internet, of course, but there was an album by Buckner and Garcia with a song called Pac-Man Fever. And as sort of a cheap marketing ploy,
I had that record when I was a kid. I had the record when I was a kid.
Yeah. And they put the patterns in there.
Yeah. Yep.
You guys you don't look this old, so that's good.
No, I thank
right.
you.
But so I learned the Pac-Man ones, and I'd have like a crowd of people going, "Oh, this guy's the best." I was probably 10 or 12 or whatever it was. And it was great. It was still a feat in itself to memorize those patterns, but then Ms. Pac-Man didn't have that. That was just pretty much you're on your own. Yeah. There were a couple of really obscure ones. Crazy Climber I liked a lot.
That sounds familiar. Yeah.
There was Defender was cool. Joust. Those were made by the same people.
Those are great. Yeah. Midway. Yeah.
Midway. Yeah.
Great games.
Do you have any arcade games at home?
I don't have any arcade machines at home, but I have a ton. I'm a big collector, so I have a lot of games, like older games. And I have a lot of modern stuff, but I have a lot of older stuff too. I'm pretty picky when I buy games because like they have to be complete. So yeah. One thing I wanted to tell you. When I first, it's kind of funny how we first found out about you.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
We actually first found out about you through Twitch.
Wow.
It was a year ago, and it was somebody was doing like a thing called a subathon, which is where someone just like streams the whole time. They're always on, and the more like the more subscribers they get, the more their time goes up, so they keep streaming.
Yeah.
And I think someone was sleeping, and someone had donated one of your videos, and I don't think it was the French toast one. I think it was the one where you have this lady that comes in at the end, and you put something in the refrigerator.
Oh yes,
you're babysitting. You were
at your neighbor's house.
At your neighbor's.
Oh yeah.
I forget what the meal was.
That was poutine.
Yeah, the poutine. That was the first one we saw. I'm like, okay, I gotta watch this guy. We went down a whole rabbit hole.
Wow.
The whole night. Watched your videos.
That's one of the more recent ones too. Yeah, because you got a long way to go from that one. Yeah.
Oh, we're caught up. We were caught up.
I think there's about 50 of them or so.
But your humor, I don't know if do you know who Stephen Reed is? Have you heard of Stephen Reed or Weber Cooks at all?
Oh yeah, Weber Cooks. I've seen that guy.
So when I watched your videos, I'm like, man, this guy reminds me of that guy, because he did all the microwave stuff. Like, all right, we're making some nachos.
The nachos. Yeah, no, I love that video. I saw that after I was already doing it, and I was like, that guy's the real deal, right? Like, he's not doing it.
He's not pretending. He's like, that's his kid.
Yeah.
He is.
Yeah. Well, that's what I'm trying to do. And there's a couple videos out there. There's one called Who Needs a Movie. Okay. Unbelievable. That one. It's just a promo video that a couple put out trying to be entrepreneurial. And they said, hey, if you need a movie for your wedding or bar mitzvah or whatever it is, we'll film it for you. But what's ironic is that the filming is just terrible, and they're acting. I mean, the lady, the wife, looks like she has a gun to her head. You know, she's like, what about graduations? You're gonna need a movie for that, you know. But anyway, that one, if you put in who needs a movie, and then the other guy that I saw was this guy Shane Lucky. And he does this thing where he sings 5 octaves at the piano, and that one just blew my mind. You know, there's a couple of them, and then there's also Frank's Guide to National Parks. There's a few of these things out there, but
it was so funny too, because it was funny watching Raven watch you with me, because she'd be like, no, you don't crack an egg on a pie pan. Who the hell does that? And I'm like, maybe you might learn how to cook. I mean, he might be able to teach you.
Or when you have to choose some things that just are not the same.
You're like, oh no, I don't have tomato sauce, but I got tomato paste. That's the same thing. Yeah. She would just get
I would yell at the TV. And at first, when we first started watching you, we weren't sure.
I was like, is this dude for real?
And
that's great.
I've not been introduced to your humor yet.
Yeah.
And until we went back and we started watching, we looked into you a little bit more. But I would literally, I would sit there and I would just have the most puzzled look on my face. And then I would just find myself yelling at the TV. And it was just, you really draw people in. And I'm not a chef by any means. I am not like the best cook or anything, but I know my way around the kitchen. And I was just like, oh my God, like, what is he doing?
Like,
for real, there's no way he can eat this.
Like the one where you did the, this was on Twitch. This was recent that really got her, was when you had a strainer, but it was really a grater.
Oh yeah. I think that one was improv. I think that
was
one
good.
Just pulled it out, and I was like,
good.
Congratulations, this grater is going to be my strainer. And I'll just call it European.
Actually,
yeah.
And then some of them are just so off the top that I'm just like, oh my God.
Yeah.
And even now, knowing, that it's comedy, I still get so sucked into it.
She does. Yeah, she totally does, man.
I will say I am actually really bad at cooking in real life. And but some people are they have a sense to it. Like they just know how much salt to put in.
Intuitive cooking is what.
Yeah, and there's just a thing. And so for me, I can actually just sort of be myself, because the reality is I don't know. So if I just kind of let it happen as opposed to trying to force it too much, it's gonna be terrible. Because you take any person who doesn't know how to cook and then put them in the position where they're teaching you how to cook, it's gonna be ridiculous.
Fantastic.
What's really funny too is when we started watching you and we got more and more invested into your YouTube videos, I was like, you know what, I bet this dude is like a master chef for real, and he is just messing this shit up like on purpose. I'm like, I bet this dude is like a really fucking good cook. And he's just like,
No.
so we now know, okay, so you're not that good, really not that good.
No,
But like,
I really am bad. As a matter of fact, that's where part of the cooking thing is. I had a girlfriend at the time, right before I started making them, and she, every time I would cook, she'd just be like, "You're the biggest idiot in the kitchen," you know. And there is something really kind of funny about watching somebody fuck something up with food. I don't know what it is, but there's another thing about it. When you're trying to find 5 minutes of content for a video, you have to come up with a story that's engaging, that people are going to, why are they going to stick around the whole 5 minutes? They have to want to see what happens. And with cooking, you have a built-in plot, you know, you're gonna, that's the whole reason people watch TV shows and stuff, is how is this character going to be different at the end? But you literally, everybody knows you're going to end up with something. So I'm going to stick around and see what the hell this ends up to be, you know? So I didn't realize that I was doing that, but I realized later, I was like, oh, of course people are going to stick around, because they start seeing like flour and eggs and stuff. And there's a natural intrigue of like, well, what's this going to end up being, you know?
Now, have you ever made something that you were genuinely surprised that it turned out really well? Or do you have a favorite or something that comes to mind?
Well, let's see. Okay. One thing I'll say is, like, a bad day at work for me will be whatever it was that I was trying to make just came out looking great. And it's like,
there you go.
I'm like, you know, there's nothing funny about just watching somebody cook well, you know? And
of course, yeah, absolutely.
So I think there was a stream I did like a week ago or recently where I was like, I couldn't get, you know, the sound to work, and then the game didn't work properly. And then the dish came out perfect. So it's like, I just kind of feel like I wasted everybody's time for 2 hours, you know? So that does happen sometimes. But I will say yesterday, and this is a real peek behind the curtain, and it's, you know, I'm letting you see pay attention to that man behind the curtain or whatever. But like, I made spanakopita. I still don't know how to pronounce it. It's spanakopita or whatever. But I was making it and it was coming out like shit. And but then I was like, you know, afterward, I have all the ingredients for this thing. I bought all the special paper and the chopped spinach, or not paper, but the dough or whatever. I'm gonna actually make it for lunch. And I did. Like, I made it for real. And I was like, you know what, this is pretty delicious. It didn't look beautiful, but I was like, this, because, you know, when I was doing it on the stream, I was like, I did it with cheddar cheese, which would have made a Greek chef just puke, you know. And so, but I pulled it together with some feta cheese. And so that one, actually, I might recommend that to people if you're looking for a dish that is going to come out pretty tasty. Just following the directions. That one's pretty cool. There's some that you can't really go wrong. Well, desserts are usually going to come out fine. It's actually really tricky to you can make them look ridiculous.
It's hard to mess up dessert.
At the end of the day,
it's hard to mess up dessert.
I mean, you've got sugar and some kind of cream in there and flour. It's going to come out. So that one's a little tough. So I try to go more for the visuals on that.
When you were doing the YouTube videos, did you have any? I know that there were times like, you notice how he doesn't taste it sometimes. Was there at the end? Was there a particular dish that you taste and you're like, God, this is so fucking disgusting? Like,
oh yeah,
when you were, because like I can tell when you're.
Oh yeah.
Like,
no,
like,
there's some. Okay, this is a thing. Like when I the chili one that I made, there's no way anybody was going to eat that. It was tomato paste with garbanzo beans. And it was burned. I mean, that was just nasty. I will say I'm a little bit of a softie, and I don't like the idea of just throwing away food. It's just, I don't know. I mean, I would have thought it was funny in my teens, but I feel like I don't want to waste food. So I try as hard as I can to make something something that, even though it's going to look ridiculous, I'm going to eat it, or I'm going to try to waste as little of it as possible, you know.
Right,
And
sure.
because I just I don't like the optics of, being the American guy who's just like, look at food, whatever, let's throw it in the trash, you know. So
Sure,
sure.
Yeah.
So I'm just sort of like a little conscious about that. But that said, there have been times when I, on the YouTube videos, and there was one, not too long ago where I took a bite of it and I almost puked. I'm trying to remember what it was.
I think that's the one that I was thinking of, because you looked like you were, it was just bad the moment it entered your mouth, and you were just like, like it looked like you were actually going to vomit, and I wondered if you actually were. That has to be a recent one. I can't remember which one.
I'm gonna have to go through the outtakes on some.
But
it triggers some kind of gag response, and you're like, ugh.
You said you have outtakes. Are you gonna ever put those out? Have you thought about doing?
They're on the Patreon.
Okay, I was wondering about that. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. I'll be honest. There's not that many. One thing that absolutely destroys me inside is that the French toast video there's a failed hard drive out there somewhere that I can't get the raw footage. But that was the first one I did. And that one, I was all by myself and I kept laughing. I could not keep a straight face throughout the whole thing. And I wish I had that. But there is, I did a compilation of some outtakes, but there's not a lot of them. I don't know why, because I guess because mostly it's just me by myself. So there's not really, and also I'm screwing up anyway. So it's hard to find like bloopers, but there are some, but I'll have to find that one that I had recently. I think it's whatever I did 2 months ago for my Patreon. I think that one I had to run to the sink and like actually, it made me.
That's got to be that video, because I'm telling you, I just remember you started to chew it, and then you had that look of like, it's good, it's I'm not gonna be able to eat it. Like,
I did. Like, I try not to go too crazy. Like, I'm gonna put M&Ms and meatloaf or something like that, because that's just a little bit much. But I do try to make it so that I don't know. What maybe somebody thinks that capers are a sweet thing, and I put them in my homemade ice cream. And I think I did that once, and that's one of the things that made me want to puke, because it's like capers by themselves, but if you're expecting a nice ice cream thing and then you've got this sour taste to it, you know.
I think my favorite video that pops into my head, I think the one I laughed the most at is probably the peanut butter and jelly one.
Oh yeah, where you're like taking the bread and you're like,
oh yeah.
That was. That's what I said. Hey, I'm gonna start making your sandwiches, sweetheart. I'm gonna just, I got the, just gotta.
Now, I want to talk about the musical aspect just a little bit.
Yeah, let's talk about your musical aspect. Yeah, absolutely.
Suicidio.
Yeah.
What kind of prompted you to incorporate the music into the comedy, and is that something that you did prior?
Well, I'll tell you, music has always been a part of my life since.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
And that's what my act was and everything like that. But I would do pretty straight ahead comedy songs. Now, but I'll tell you exactly, to answer your question, it's those videos that I was watching. They would always have this extremely sad music that just made you want to shoot yourself in the head. While you're looking at meatloaf, it just was really sad. So I'm like, why this sad music?
Yeah,
that's another thing that they.
Isn't cooking supposed to be fun?
Yeah. Like now you'll go to Instagram and it's this poppy music, everything.
Oh yeah,
camera work is incredible. Like those days are sort of over, unfortunately. But back then there'd be this really sad music. So I was like, I love music so much, so I thought it was going to be fun. I was like, I'm going to make just incredibly sad music for this. And then for the follow-up video for the chili, that was for the French toast one, and then for the chili video I was like, I'm going to actually sing, and it's very much there's an album from Tom Waits called Small Change, which is an unbelievable album, and I was just flat out trying to basically imitate that album. It's over the top, and he's being funny too, but yeah, so I just came up with the term Jose Suicidio. That was there was a album from Julio Iglesias that you can actually Google image search. It's really funny. It's called Divorcio. And I was like,
Oh my gosh.
is that what
Wow.
you do? You just put EO at the end of the word?
Yeah, and then it just works, right? That's just how
yeah.
it
So I was like,
yeah.
this is going to be Jose Suicidio. And then I found out later it's pronounced Suicidio. But yeah,
Great.
but that was a real fun thing for me because then I was like, oh, I get to do my music now, and that's something I enjoy doing. So I put out as an album, but they weren't flat out jokes. It was more in that Spinal Tap vein where it's like the joke is just the music itself, you know, but there's not jokes within it, you know.
Yeah. I feel like the music has also really helped develop the character you're portraying because you're this kind of like, no offense, but like kind of a loser, lost his girlfriend.
That's basically
single.
Well, there's a video.
Lots of mishaps, you know, because I remember like you did that one where you were trying to cook for people at a party and then they didn't know you were like that was really good too. Yeah. And the music kind of correlates to that. So it's kind of like you have your own soundtrack basically you've made.
That's right. For
this channel, which is fabulous.
I'm almost to the point of a second soundtrack album.
Nice.
That you can stream them supposedly. They don't work with the voice activated, but if you go to Spotify and put Jose Suicidio, you should be able to see all of the songs.
Yeah, it's there.
Yeah.
There.
And but for some reason, if I try to do it with the voice activated thing, it doesn't call it up. I don't know why, but it doesn't populate that as a search. Probably more algorithmic type stuff, but
probably.
Yeah, but those albums are released, or that album is released, and I'm gonna put out another one. And but yeah, so to summarize, I'm basically at this point, I'm being funny, which is what I've always wanted to do. I don't have to travel, and I get to do my music as well. And now I'm playing video games, so it's sort of like, here I am. I'm 53 years old, and I'm just sort of falling into something that I really enjoy doing. You know,
that's good, cool. Man. Good for you. I mean, that's great. I mean, you definitely deserve it because once we got to watching your videos, I'm that kind of person. Like, I want to know what their history is like. Like, where do they? I'm always big into that.
Yeah.
So I started doing some research about you and stuff when you're career. You've came a long way. I mean, you've been doing this for a very long time.
Yeah.
And I mean, going back and watching your younger videos when you were doing the guitar and stuff like that, it's just impressive. And then I watched a lot of the Bob and Tom stuff. A friend of mine actually used to work for the Bob and Tom show.
I wonder if I know.
Many years ago, his name is Nicholas Warman. I don't know if you recognize that name or not, but
I remember Nicholas.
He was an intern there, and but yeah, I mean, you know that, which is cool too, because Raven and I were from Indianapolis.
Yeah. Oh, cool.
So we're from there. So you know, of course, we've heard that show thousands of times. But you deserve it, man. Good for you. Yeah. Like seriously, I mean, if you don't have to worry about like traveling and having to stay in hotels, I had a job back in 2013 where I was on the road literally every day.
Oh wow!
I was putting in like ATMs. It was some weird gig, but I got paid pretty well. But I got to do that. I had a company car. I got to travel. I was all through New York City and all everywhere. And
you had to drive through New York City. I
had to drive from Indianapolis to New York City. That was a hell of a drive.
I've done the drive, but
long time ago.
I think I dropped my car in New Jersey and just went cabs from that point on, because the idea of driving through New York, just like that's a whole different thing.
But the lucky part about it was I didn't have to pay for it. Now I can't imagine
that's cool.
That coming out, I'm sure that some of that travel expenses comes out of your pocket. But now, that you get to be in your home, you have a lovely kitchen. I love your kitchen, by the way. I'm very jealous.
Thanks. Very well, it's an upgrade from the original.
A little bit.
and that's another thing. That was a sad time. I mean, I had to move because you know, I wanted to move to a nicer place, but I was like, is the kitchen gonna work? Because the kitchen was almost a character in the thing, and it
really was.
Yeah. I think the one that started playing on stream on Twitch a lot was the spaghetti and meatballs, which was in the new kitchen. So I was like, okay, good. The new kitchen's working, but so sorry, we got off on the different.
No, it's okay. You're good. Yeah, but just you deserve it, man. Like you've had a very long career, and you know, now you don't have to worry about traveling. You get to be in the comfort of your own home. I mean, getting to do what you love in your home is one of the best things ever. And I know it took, you said you had to learn some new things. That's part of life a little bit is having to do that. I know, I'm sure, especially I know with like, there was COVID going on and traveling and things has been hard for people. So you being at home was like, hey, I'm at home. I ain't got to worry about doing any of that.
Yeah. Well,
that
kind of forced me to do more stuff at home, whether I liked it or not. And I was very lucky. I have some friends that are my peers that didn't have the, I had a YouTube following that was going to go with me where I went to Patreon. I started a new series on Patreon. And then I was like, I was very lucky that I had that because most of my friends were just doing clubs. And so that shut down, but then they started opening up, but now everything's in full swing from what I can tell. I mean, so no, it's been,
that's great.
You said something that I really want to emphasize also. It's like, you have to keep learning new things. You absolutely have to. You have to be uncomfortable. You have to be challenged in some way. And I loved that feeling of going live for the first time on camera, because I was like, this is scary. This feels like doing stand-up for the first time. You have to have things like that,
Of course. Yeah. Is it with you doing stand-up as much as you have, we're going to wrap this up here in a second, but like, did you, what's it been like? Because being in front of a live audience and seeing the faces and seeing the people, how is that different for you, having been on the road and having an actual audience that like, you can see their facial expressions. You can kind of tell like, oh man, my comedy's not working. What's that been like? Going from having 3,000 people not right in front of you and just in a chat versus having an audience actually in front of you. What's that been like for you?
Yeah, it's a great question. And there's pluses and minuses. Overall, for me at this point in my life, it's more pluses, but because there is this classic thing that happens with stand-ups where there are times when you'll say something that it's like, look, I've been doing this 15 years. That joke works every time. I had Chris Rock tell me that was one of his favorite jokes. And the fact that you guys didn't laugh at it means you're the ones who suck, not me. It's like, you can't say that every time, but there were times when I was out there on the road when I was just going, all right, this is just a bad crowd. And when you're younger, you can go, okay, well, it's my fault. And I guess it always is to a certain extent, but I guess what I'm getting at is with Twitch, I don't have to really hear the laughter back. I just can be funny in the way that I think I'm being funny, and I'm not going to get thrown if all of a sudden there's nobody laughing at me. And that is very liberating,
I bet.
But at the same time, I wouldn't want to be in that situation, not having had the experience, because there is a certain way to say a line that that it's going to be a little bit funnier, and you want to wait a certain amount of time before you say something and try to say it in sound bites, and I guess if there's minuses, it's probably that when things are going well, I don't assume it. They're like, when there's been technical problems or whatever, I'm thinking to myself, this whole thing is a train that's off the rails. I'm depressed. I suck at this. I don't want to do it. But then, you'll look at the chat and they're like, it's fine, whatever. We're here to have a good time, and so the Twitch audience has just been extremely cool. I mean,
that's good.
Just extremely supportive.
And I think too, another thing I like about Twitch, we were kind of talking about this earlier, is that you don't have to cater. Nobody really has to cater to a particular audience. The audience that suits you is going to come find you. You don't have to, like you said, with stand up, you go to these clubs, and I'm sure there are certain expectations, even if they come out to see you specifically. But with Twitch, and that's the case even with YouTube, there are certain expectations, but with Twitch you really can be more of yourself,
because why would they be there
on YouTube, but you don't really have to cater to a specific audience. They're just going to come to you, and
that
you're
is
be
cool
there consistently because they love what you do. So if you do kind of like mess up even more than what you think, or you're not feeling, they're still going to be there for you.
They're
not
there
gonna
for
care.
you, man.
They're
They don't
not gonna
care
care.
about
They're
the
there
issues.
for you as a person.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
Absolutely. My
That's
thing
cool.
too is I hope, because comedy is not something you see a lot of specifically on Twitch.
Mhm.
So I wonder, do your, I know you said you have a lot of friends that do comedy. Have they watched your Twitch? Have they seen it? How do they feel about it? Do you think that Twitch would probably, I mean, do you think that there's a future in doing comedy or forms of comedy on the platform as a whole?
It's very few. Look, most of my friends are old guys, and they're just like, I had to download some kind of app, and then they got my email, and now the government's gonna know what I'm doing. I'm just like, look, it's just not for you. Forget it.
Sure. That's understandable.
But I have told my friends about it, and I think they're probably going to start learning that it's a great place to do a podcast, for example, because you can change cameras, you can do all that stuff. But I haven't seen a lot of that. And there definitely is. I mean, I got very lucky because those streamers, and it seems like a lot of them are in the European time zones. Because I notice when I stream on Thursday nights, the views go way down. So I'm thinking that a lot of these people are direct result of those streamers that were really big, like Nim, who's in like Sweden or something like that. So I think that I'm telling my friends you should get on there, but yeah, they're gonna have to try to start from scratch to a certain extent, and that's a hard thing to do.
That is, especially when you've been doing comedy a certain way your whole career. You have to kind of I know like there are some that are very set in their ways, and that's fine. Like they don't want to do that. They just want to go to the comedy clubs, things, and there's absolutely nothing wrong with doing that. It's I don't want that to ever go away. I mean, I love going to shows. I've seen comedians in person.
Absolutely.
I love that. But I think it's always good to have a supplemental thing to add to as another means of people getting to connect with you. And what's great for you is, I don't know if you're ever going to go do shows or do another tour, what have you. I don't know what that's going for. But what's good is if you do decide to do that, you have that base that was like, oh man, Henry's going to go on tour. That'd be cool. Like, I think it'd be cool if you did like a kitchen cooking tour. That'd be kind of fun. Like go and do like, how you did that masterclass thing for a little bit. That'd be cool.
That would be the way I would do it. If I can position it somehow or another that it's Twitch people, YouTube people, and it's Henry's Kitchen people, then I would really like that. The idea of standing in front of a bachelorette party that's expecting me to interact with them and talk about dildos or whatever, it's like, I mean, I've done plenty of that, but it's just not, it doesn't sound as much fun as what I'm doing now, so
good, man.
Yeah,
absolutely. Well, go for it.
I want to ask about roast beef.
Oh yeah, he's around somewhere.
So
he's very old.
How did you come about getting him? Like, did you find him? Did you have him as a kitten? All of a sudden he just kind of appeared in these videos. And
that's true.
He was already a grown cat. So just kind of, there wasn't much background about roast beef.
I inherited roast beef. He's got a mysterious story behind him. His name was actually, and this is some trivia, Mosby, and he was named after Lloyd Mosby, who's a Toronto Blue Jays player, I guess. But everybody kept thinking I was saying roast beef, and so it was like, I think that's a funnier name for a cat.
Is a good name.
So so that's what it became. But he's a very old cat that used to belong to somebody else, and but he's great. He's just good, if any actor could be as funny as a cat is just staring at nothing, I mean, that's their comedic timing. I love dogs too, but I think that a cat's comedic timing is just perfect because they're staring at you kind of like you're an idiot, or they're confused. It's really amazing.
They like to judge. Cats can be pretty judgy. They do it. They know. It's always cute. I always look forward to when I watch you stream, hearing him in the background. We heard him earlier before he started recording. You know, it's cute. Well, Henry, thank you so much, man, for taking the time to be on our show.
This was a lot of fun.
We learned a whole lot that we didn't know, and I'm sure our audience and those that are listening is going to learn about too. It's always fun to
watch
kind
your channel as well.
Yeah, it's always fun to kind of pull back the curtain and learn about the character and the person behind the character as well. And we love it, man. And
awesome.
You know, just please go check out Henry's Twitch. It's twitch.tv/Henlips. And go check him out on Twitch.
Henlips 1. I didn't get
Henlips 1. There it is. Yeah. And also you have a Patreon. I'll get all those. We'll have all that information below in the description, so you guys can go.
Will not be disappointed. He is fantastic.
Yeah, will not be disappointed. And if you've never watched him before, what are you waiting for? Go and do that after you listen to this.
Yeah, I'll tell you, is a good place to start.
It's a really great place to start. A fun fact: how I found out about your Twitch channel was I'm on Reddit a lot, and so there was a thread. Someone said, there's a guy cooking right now on Twitch and he's an idiot. Like, does he not realize this is not how you do it? And I'm like, wait a sec. Like, is this who I think it is? And there it is. I'm like, oh my God. And they didn't know that you were like, that this wasn't really.
Yeah.
And I was like, he's doing a great job. Good job, Henry. You did a great job.
That's fantastic.
You're doing your job. So, but thanks again. Thanks for watching our channel or show rather. You're watching it on YouTube. Please be sure to subscribe to our channel. If you like this video, let us know. Leave a comment in the comment section below for Henry and let him know how great of a job he's doing. And please, by all means, go watch him on Twitch. Go watch his YouTube channel. We'll have all those links down there below. And we will see you on the next one. Take it easy, guys.
Bye.